Avoir.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. My name is Leah Lodato, and I am the host of the show. And today I am joined by my spouse, Laurie.
Hello.
And our good friend, Carol.
Hi.
Hi, Carol.
Hi.
Man, am I excited to have you here today. So I just wanted to say thank you for tuning into the podcast. Before we get started, I usually preamble a little bit. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Feel free to share the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on so that more people can hear it. And we did an owner interview last month. Was that last month? With Lily and Bella. And it was really well received. So we talked to Lily and Bella about their experience with training their first dog. And many of you thought that that was pretty cool. And so we thought that we would do a similar thing with our good friend Carol. So Carol's here to talk about her and her dog, Maple. First, Laurie, do you want to talk a little bit about how you know Carol?
Oh, sure.
Because I met Carol simply through Maple. And I remember seeing her name in the book and you saying, oh, that's Carol Federo. She's coming to train her dog. I've known her for years. And I was like, oh, cool. But I had never met you before. So I got to know you through the dog. Mm-hmm. But you've known Carol for a long time.
Yep. Carol's been part of my life for a long time. My family grew up in the church. And I think Carol and I became closer over the years. Mm-hmm. And if you needed any more of a reason to like her, she was the first person that are friends of my parents that invited both Leah and I to her home. And that is such a big deal, guys, because there was such a feeling when, it was out, coming out of the closet.
Yeah.
So it was such a big deal. And I kind of hid from everyone in the family. And Carol was like, why don't you and Leah come over the house? And I was like, no kidding. All right. So that's, I think, how, Carol and I became closer. And also, the loss of my sister, that was a huge deal. And she helped out my mom. So Carol, I totally love you. And I'm glad you're here too, because your story is so funny. You're so fun. Your family is funny. I know Carol Ann is like, hey, Carol Ann, how you doing? And, and I'm psyched. I'm psyched to hear you and have everyone hear your story.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, Carol, why don't you just tell us a little bit about how you acquired Maple,
okay,
who she is, and just start from the beginning for us.
Okay. So I have a dog. His name is Romeo. He's a little Shih Tzu. And it took me 20 years to be able to have this dog because my husband was absolutely against dogs. He wasn't a dog lover. And so after 20 years of us wearing him down, he let us get a dog. And we all know that a Shih Tzu is just a small little lap dog, and he was perfect. And going through the years, my daughter kept saying, we need a big dog. We need a different dog. And we were always like, no, you can't have it. One night, we were sitting in the parlor, and when you see a shadow out of the corner of your eye, you go, was that a mouse? What was that? And that was it. And then all of a sudden, I see my daughter, Carol Ann, walking down. I'm like, Carol Ann, was that a mouse? No, Ma, that wasn't a mouse. Okay. The night went by. The next day, she got up really early, about 5 o'clock in the morning, to go to work. And she doesn't do those things ever.
You mean wake up early?
Yeah. To go to work? Never. She's one of those people who has to be in at 8. She wakes up at 7:30.
Okay.
So she got up real early. She goes, I got to be in early. I'm like, but why are you up at 5? And I had run to the bathroom, and she just scurried out of the house, and she was gone. Well, that took place for about 4 days, still not knowing what she was actually doing.
Now, how old is Carol Ann at the time?
Carol Ann was 25 at the time, so she's not a little child. She's a grown woman. But she's the only one left out of my 4 children who still lives with us. So this happened for about a week, and on about the 6th day, I kind of saw a shadow, but then I heard footsteps, and I went, what is that? And I see my daughter chasing whatever that was.
It's a big ass mouse.
And I got up, and Guy goes, what's going on? And I went around the corner, and she's holding this little dog. And I went, oh, Caroline, where did you get that dog? It's mine. I bought it. I went, what do you mean you bought it? And my husband in the background yelling, that better not be her dog. Tell her to take it back. And I was like, well, where did Caroline take it back? And he's yelling, bring it to the farm. And I'm like, what farm? What farm? They don't have farms for puppies.
So it was going well.
It was going well. It was like I had my husband yelling at me because we had a dog. I had her telling me that, it's okay. And then I looked at it and I went, Caroline, what kind of dog is this? Now, she was still very small. She was only about 10 pounds. I'm not sure yet, Mom.
I'm not sure.
I said, she looks kind of like a pit bull, which I had a pit bull growing up. I had a red-nosed pit bull growing up, so I knew. No, Ma, no. I said, that better not be a pit bull because I have grandchildren. And so she's like, well, I think it might be. I think she was the runt of the litter. And
wait, Carol cuts to in her head the body limbs of her grandchildren just strewn about the house. And just to give an idea of who Guy is, a woman in the airport once mistook him for Tony Soprano.
Yes.
So
James Gandolfini.
Yes.
So Guy
Lot
is
of time.
him.
Yep.
So now Guy's
and
yelling.
He's Italian, and he's yelling at me.
We got Carol Ann, and she always would drop me a line every once in a while talking about pit bulls. Okay, go.
Yeah. So here she is holding this pit bull. My husband's yelling at me in the background. I'm thinking, oh my God, it's a pit bull. What is going to happen here? And we go to bed. My husband yells at me the whole night. She can't have it. What are you going to do? You better tell her to bring it back. And I'm like, okay. So she gets up and I start with her. You can't have it. You need to bring it back. We can't. I can't bring it back, she says. They moved.
She's lying.
I went, what do you mean they moved? She goes, they moved. They're these people I can't get in touch with. They're gone. I went, oh my gosh, and it's a puppy. So of course she goes to work, and here I am barricading her in a hallway with a piano bench because I don't know what I'm going to do with the dog, and she's not trained. Okay. So a week goes by, and of course those sad little eyes keep looking up at you. And my husband kept saying, she's still here. She's still here. She's still here. And I'm going, I know. I think we'll keep her. We'll have her trained. No, we can't keep her, he says. Well, he goes, you remember how bad my dog growing up, our pit bull was trained for my father for protection where my father worked. So he needed protection, and he was well trained for my dad. But we couldn't have visitors. You couldn't come to my house without him being locked in a room. So that was the fear I got because my house is like a revolving door. It never stops. There's people in there all day long, whether it's my children, it's my grandchildren, it's business things going constantly. So all that stuff was going through my mind.
How many grandchildren?
I have five grand, and they're all, well, no, I'm sorry. I have 4 under the age of 5 and 1 9-year-old.
Yeah.
So the 9-year-old I wasn't worried about. It's the little ones where
and at the time, this was 3 years ago.
Yeah, so they were even smaller. And so I said, well, maybe we, if I have her trained and maybe we can keep her. And my husband kept saying no. And of course, Carol Ann's happy as can be because, we're going to get to keep the dog. Well, little by little, we have the dog, and Carolyn goes to work at regular hours, and she comes back at regular hours, and she goes out with her friends because she's young, and the dog all of a sudden is with me 24 hours a day.
That never happens to the mother.
Now, I can understand when you're little and you beg for a dog, we'll take care of it, and that never happens. But yeah, no, she does take her for rides, and she takes her to Dunkin' Donuts for coffee and things like that. But she's my dog now. So I said, we have to do something. I can't have her and not take care of her correctly. So that's when I knew to call Laurie right away. I said, you need to come to my house, please. Please do a house call. So Laurie came up. She met Maple. We did some training. Then we did some more training. And things started to work out great. But then I realized, well, I need to be able, where I live is a lot of space. And I needed to be able to have a little bit of control over her. And so then I did some e-collar training with her, with Leah. And that was the best thing, because then she's able now to go out and be a dog. Like, I can go for walks and she can run around and play. Granted, she is a little laxy-daisy sometimes on her commands without her e-collar on. With her e-collar on, I don't have to do anything. She just is like perfect. You take that off, she doesn't even want to listen. She looks around like, who are you talking to?
A little e-collar savvy, right?
Absolutely.
And then one can argue that the follow through when a dog has an e-collar on is a lot sharper than if she doesn't have the e-collar on
Right.
and you're in the house and you're just telling her to do something. But
Right.
when you're outside, you're scared to death.
Yeah.
This chick is going to go run off and kill something, get a
Right.
bunny. She loves bunnies, right?
Right.
That's her thing.
She loves bunnies. She
That's her
likes
jam.
birds. I remember calling Leah. I said, Leah, I have a problem. She's trying to kill the rabbits and the birds. What do I do? And Leah goes, you do nothing. She's a dog. How can you stop that? I went, I don't know. But she is a lovable dog. She loves people. She just loves to be with people. She's not an attack dog. She's not a watchdog. She's a lovable dog.
Yeah, she's a sweet temperament, pit. She's got that cute little face. She always looks a little grumpy.
Yep. Sad eyes.
Yeah. We in the beginning, obedience was sharp though. Like, you did a really good job.
Yep.
She came to group class.
Yep.
We needed that freedom in the woods so you could go for walks. Like, I would get pictures from Christina, your daughter, and she would send a picture of Maple walking with the kids in the stroller, and like, oh, that stuff makes my hair blow back, right? Because that's the whole purpose of this, right?
Yeah.
Is not that your dog is a soldier, but just that it's part of your life.
Right.
You know, nobody's afraid of the dog. You weren't worried that the dog was gonna. You no longer pictured body parts strewn all over the floor.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, we have to train this dog. Like, if it, for some reason, if it doesn't go well or the dog isn't trained, like, I know way too many of these people.
Yeah. I wouldn't have probably been able to keep her if she wasn't trained well, because, like I said, there's so many little children and people, company coming constantly, that if she was vicious, and it just wouldn't be able to it wouldn't be able to happen that way. And she's great with my little dog. She doesn't, he bosses her around and she takes it.
Which is nice, because sometimes you can have a little bit of conflict there.
Right.
So did Carol Ann actually get her from a breeder?
She did.
Okay.
Yes, she
so
did.
she knew exactly what
She
the dog
knew
was.
exactly.
Then
Then
she didn't want to say because she was worried that you would say no or whatever.
Right. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing pictures. Would you like to see what her mother looks like? Would you like to see what her father looks like? And I'm thinking to myself, but you told me they don't live around here. She brought her to go and visit them when she turned 1. She brought them to go visit them so she could see her mom and her dad. And and so she knows the breeder will send her pictures of the mom, because she had just had another litter. And Carol Ann was starting to say, do you want a little sister or a brother?
No.
I said,
no, we don't.
I said, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get married. You're going to leave. You can buy any dog you want. Maple will stay with me.
That's right.
And if I don't care whatever you get, but it stays at your house. It won't be coming to visit at Grandma's house. It won't. Maple will stay with me, and she's not leaving me.
I guess to relate to other mothers, I don't know, is there anything that you want to like say that you could encourage somebody listening to the podcast, like problems that you ran across that you didn't think you would? I mean, we all know you saw the pit bull, you're like, oh crap, what am I going to do?
Right.
The grandkids, your house is super busy. How many people do you have on there on a Sunday, like on a given Sunday?
Probably 15 to 20. That's now that the summer's out, there'll be more.
Yeah.
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Yep.
We could be going up to 25, 30.
Oh, easy.
Right. And
Yeah.
And so we have good old Maple.
Yeah.
Just chilling now. She's definitely your dog.
She's definitely my dog, Carolyn. If you're listening, you know that. So there's a lot of things that come with it. With my little dog, I didn't have any problems because he's little and he just is just so content and stuff. But she's not. She's into things. She's been stung by a bee twice. Twice we had to take her to the vet. Her face blew up like balloons.
We got the picture.
Yeah.
I was like, go to the vet.
Yeah. It's just, things like that you don't expect. And then sometimes she'll surprise you, and she has like these different barks. So she has a bark, like if she knows who you are, and you can tell, oh, someone's coming. She knows that person. If she doesn't know you and someone's coming, it's like a little bit deeper of a bark. I'm like, oh, there's somebody out front. because she'll let you know. And then if it's an animal or something that she sees, because we've had bears out front. We've had
Bears?
Yes, black bears, yep. We've had deers.
Oh, no.
Yep, deers. and coyotes all the time. And those are completely different barks. It's like, let me out there so I can, she thinks she can go take care of it, but she'd probably be like,
Yeah, well, this is good to know because Carol recognizes all of these barks. So if you ever think that you're going to let your dog at night to just go to the bathroom, even if they are e-collar trained, you might want to do a scan of the environment. Or if the dog is barking, just take note before you let them loose.
Yeah, believe them.
I know.
Yeah.
I know so many parents who are like, she was barking, but I didn't think too much of it. And Carol's like pretty in tune to Maple. When she got stung by a bee, we got the pictures. Guys, it was like a
cartoon.
Like a cartoon. Her face was so blown up, and because it was so severe, I'm like, no, this isn't something that you Benadryl at home.
Right.
I'm like, you need to go, and she needs an injection.
Yeah, she had to have IV fluid. She had to get the injection.
I mean, she didn't even look like her face.
No, it was bad. It was bad. That twice.
We should attach a picture.
Yeah, we'll put it in my Instagram.
Yeah, we'll
story.
put it on Instagram story because the face was astounding, and you're like, what do I do now? Because your Shih Tzu Romeo never really got into this.
No.
He's just a little mop.
That's it. The worst thing that happened to him, he fell in the pool.
No, didn't he get hit by her?
He did because Carol Ann let him out.
Poor Carol Ann. She's getting...
We had lived on a busier street, and I said, don't let him out because he might, even though he's little, and he got like sideswiped. Up to the hospital. Moving we went. They're amazing there, and he damaged his liver a little bit. He was in there for 2 days, and they sent him home. He did great. After that, I didn't let her take him out ever.
I'm so sorry, Carol Ann. So that was Woburn.
But Maple does
emergency.
love Carol Ann. She gets like so excited when she gets home and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But she's my little she's my big shadow.
The funnest group classes are the ones when Carol Ann and Carol come.
Yeah, I know. I loved it.
Like Carol Ann will be like, "See, she doesn't listen to me.
Look at her. She's not listening."
So I tell you,
Carol Ann, I freaking love you. I do. I love everything about her.
So
confidence, attitude, personality.
Yeah. I was at one of my granddaughter's dance recital 2 weeks ago, and I had left Maple at home with my dad and my husband who had surgery. We put her in the crate. My husband put her in the crate because he went to lay down. I'm up in Derry, New Hampshire. Carol Ann was working nights. She came home. She calls me. She knew where I was. Mom, where's Maple? I went, I don't know. Like, I'm in New Hampshire. She goes, I don't know where she is. I went, did you ask Dad? Dad said he put her in the crate. I went, is she in the crate? No, she's not there. I said, oh no. Carol Ann, go outside and look for her. So she calls me on the phone. She's not coming. And I'm like, well, I'm really far away. I don't know what to do. But she yelled a little bit louder. She had no collar on. She didn't even have a regular collar on with her ID on it. But she ended up hearing Carol Ann. She come running down the street from one of my neighbors' cul-de-sac. Here she comes. And she came in, thank God, because she heard a voice. But, those are scary moments if you don't know. You don't know what happened. But
and explain a little bit about your father, if you're comfortable doing that, because this is something.
This is real life,
yeah. This is something a family might experience, and it's so hard.
Yeah. So my dad is living with us. He is starting to really forget a lot. I don't want to call it a name. I don't want to give it a name as of this point, but he's forgetting a lot, and he does a lot of things without thinking about it. And one of the things is feeding Maple whatever he feels like it. Like, he literally will feed her. And I'm like, Dad, did you just feed her? Nope. And I watched it. He'll eat like an ice cream and give the other half to Maple. And she knows. If Maple barks and sees a squirrel or a rabbit, he'll just open the door and let her go out. And so it's been hard because he is thinking like, oh, she'll come back. Don't worry, she'll come back. But not that I live in a busy place, but I don't want something to happen to her, or people see her and think, oh, there's a pit bull. She would come up and kiss you before she would do anything else. But, she's still out there, and things can happen. So that's something that we're working on. Right now, at this point, she wears her e-collar in the house at all times, just in case she gets out.
Just
and
as a
I
backup.
don't know. And then I have to go look for her in the woods or somewhere because I have woods on both sides of my house. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, as soon as I call her, she'll come running out through the woods. But if she saw an animal or she saw, something, she's chasing it, she's not going to pay attention to me. And who knows where it would lead her to.
Well, you just mentioned you have black bears.
Black bears.
I
yeah.
mean, so if the dog is out of the house, and your dad is so old school too, because he's, back in the day, dogs run in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You just open the door, you let the dog out. This is a normal thing. It's
Yeah.
not like today where it's so regulated and dogs have to be people. You let them out the door, you let them roam around. They came back at night and you fed them dinner.
That's right.
And thankfully, all the times that she got out, she came running back.
Right. She did.
So yay Maple, even without her collar on, good job.
Yeah.
And you keep it on for safety. But that's, and sometimes people who start to have like a bit of a memory lapse, they tend to go back to the older, they remember everything from back, but nothing present.
Yeah.
Because we've had a few family that,
Yeah.
that's happened with.
Our dogs were out when I was young. We always had 2 dogs at all times. They were outside from the time they woke up. They ate. They went outside.
Yeah.
They stayed outside the whole day, and then they came in at 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, that's
never came in the
normal.
house.
Yeah, there were like no troubles, no problems, because we just let dogs be dogs back then.
Yeah.
Well, they also were used to it. So, like, I grew up with Newfoundlands, and they never left the property until we got later on. When I was in high school, we got a few that had a few screws loose, and they used to wander farther. But the first few that we had, sincerely, wouldn't leave. They just hung out, and that was a cultural difference. More land, but where you live, it's pretty. It's
dead
suburban.
end.
Yeah.
But it's a dead end, but it's not like the wilderness.
Right.
There's people around, there's houses. It's in a neighborhood, like a street over is like a neighborhood. So
Right.
you certainly don't want your dog to be loose.
Right.
But I remember, so we can back up before this story, but I remember when we had done the 4 classes for the e-collar, and you were really nervous about it, I think, at first. But actually, what made you want to get to do the remote collar training?
What happened was I had looked into getting an electric fence in the house. They wanted this crazy amount of money, like $12,000 because of my land. And I said, there's got to be a different way. And then I had spoke to Laurie, and she says, well, you can talk to Leah and see if that's something you might be interested in. And that's what we did. I took that route, and it was the best thing I ever did, because I'm able to go out with her. I can just even walk around, and she's right beside me. I don't have to worry. If she's in the woods, she's running around playing. I know that you probably remember when we went out in the woods the first time.
Yeah, that was the story I wanted to tell. So the way that I do my classes with the owner is all hands-on with the owner. So I know that it's a popular route to bring your dog somewhere and have them like board and train for e-collar training. So the trainer will take the dog and train them and give them back. And I think that for certain dogs, like, that's a good idea. But in my experience, once the owner and the dog have gone through Laurie's training program and done the 4 classes with Laurie and come up to group classes, and they have a good foundation for obedience. So they can like walk on a loose leash, they can sit, they can lay down, their recall is pretty good. Once we put the e-collar on, it's like not that hard to train the dog to come when called on the e-collar. And so you had done a really good job, and we had done 3 classes together. And after that 3rd class, I remember getting a phone call from you. Do you remember calling me?
If you refresh me.
So I'm going to paraphrase, but you had let Maple out, and I believe that she ran over to your neighbor's house, and they have a dog.
Yes.
And you called me and said, Leah, I got to tell you this story. Maple got out and she had her collar on. And I said, Maple, come. And I pushed the button and she came. And she didn't come right away. So I pushed the button and she came. And after that phone call, I knew that you understood the mechanics of it. So
Right.
I knew that you understood, like, okay, if she doesn't come, like, we're going to add a little bit of a consequence, and she's going to come to me because she understands the e-collar now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, we're going to go on a hike. And I remember you being like, with no leash? Like, yeah, with no leash. And we had another dog. We had Lily and Bella with us.
Yep.
So Lily and Bella have been on the podcast
Yep.
before, and I had my Reuben.
Yep.
So it was the three of us. And well, you can describe what we did. We went on a woods walk, all three of us.
Yeah, we went on a woods walk, and I was so nervous because the dogs were running around, they were playing and running in the woods, and I'd be like, Mabel, come, and Leah's like, you don't have to keep calling her, it's okay, because I didn't know, like we were in the woods, but she just kept up with them, and she would come back right away, and she knew like instantly. And I said, this is amazing. I said to her, this is amazing. I can do this and know that she's coming back, like without worrying that she's who knows where she went. And she kept right up with the rest of the dogs. She was really great with them. She sat for us to take pictures with Bella flying ears.
Yeah.
And she was great. It was really good. And so I said, wow, she got to be a dog. Because, all the time we have these dogs on leashes, and everywhere they go, even though you'll see them, like you go to the stores, everybody has their dogs. They all have, what do you call the vest on? That's their service dogs and stuff like that.
Well, not the service dogs.
No,
emotional support dogs.
Yeah. So, but they're everywhere. But you don't get to go like into the woods and not really worry. And I told you, at first I was very, very anxious about it because I'm like, she's not going to come back. She's with these other dogs, and there was an animal in the woods too. And she didn't even pay attention to that because she was too busy just being a dog.
That's awesome.
So that was the best. I remember saying, and then she had to come back and have a bath because she was very dirty. But
it wasn't the dirt. So this
she
dog
cut herself.
Lost her mind. And it was, at the time, she was probably 1.5 maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. And so we're in the woods, and she's getting along just fine with Bella and Reuben. And mind you, these dogs their personality really shines when they're off the leash because, Reuben, he can be a little testy with dogs in the yard, and Bella has a strong personality, but when they're loose in the woods, like, they're seriously fine.
Mm-hmm.
And Mabel was having such a good time that and I think because she hadn't really experienced her body and just being out, and it was, I forget if it was the spring or the fall, but she just scraped the crap out of herself. Like, she was running through thorns. She had cuts on her face. Her belly was scratched up. The bottoms of her feet were a mess. I was like, oh my God, this dog. I mean, I noticed when we were in the woods that she had a little scratch on her face, and we're like, all right, let's tone it down a little bit with the, with the running, because I don't want her to get really hurt. But she just had an absolute blast. And we get home, and Laurie's like, this dog needs a medical bath. So,
She was like snorting Mother Earth. I was like, oh, she's a mess. And then Carol looked a little busted too.
I think I fell.
You fell.
Walking down remember I slid down the leaves?
you know what happened? You couldn't see her.
Yeah.
And you freaked out.
Yeah.
And you lost your footing. And I remember feeling really bad, but I remember saying, like, it's really okay.
Yeah.
Like, she don't freak out. Like, she's going to be fine. And that was like such a great experience. And it helped to have Lily and Bella there because like, they're so chill, and they go on hikes all the time. And, when we saw dogs, we pulled over.
Yep.
And everybody was behaved, and it was such a great experience. But I knew after we had that phone call where you called me and said, hey, I had this success, I knew that Mabel has a high pack drive, so she likes to be around you.
Right.
Some dogs, like, just because they're wearing an e-collar doesn't mean they're going to stay close enough for comfort. And Mabel's not that dog. Right. She likes to be near you. Mm-hmm. So even when she was having fun, it wasn't like she was running 200 yards away.
Right.
So that was nice. But I knew that you understood the mechanics of the whole thing and how to do the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And that's why I like to work with the owners.
Right.
And because ultimately, maybe you can talk about this, but who cares if I can do it?
Right. Well, when I remember when you first said, oh, it's going to be 4 to 5 classes. I'm like, 4 to 5 classes? She's going to wear something on her neck and I'm going to be taught. Like, how can that be? But it was really important because my first class was literally just learning about her collar and the receiver and how they work, and it had nothing to do with the dog. It was all about me being able to use it. And we even tested it. Remember, I turned around and she would turn it up till I could feel it, and I did it to you and stuff. So that was just the first class, and then I would go home and work with her on her long leash that we got and then she started wearing her collar just to get used to it. Did not use anything else. She just would put her collar on just to get used to it. Then our second class, we started learning how to use the collar with the buttons, just the one button, not the second button. And, I had to work on that because I was like afraid, am I going to hurt her and stuff? And then it just little by little, it just made it easier to make sure that I don't want to say, well, I could say just so that she's in control, not running crazy, not being crazy around people. She knows I don't ever really have to even push a button for her. Once her e-collar goes on, she's very well e-collar trained. It's just making sure that I don't want her to think it's a punishment for her.
Yeah.
So it's just on her now like a regular collar that dogs wear. Mm-hmm. It's her bright pink collar. Yep. And that's how I use it. But if she gets out of the house or she's in danger, I don't want her to be hurt. If she's in danger and I need to use that tool is there now for me to use.
Yep, that's awesome. That's exactly what it's there for. And I explained this in a previous episode where I talked about what e-collar is best for you, because there's different brands that you can buy and different remotes and designs and all that stuff. And my argument or my answer to that question is you need to use whatever equipment you're most comfortable with, because ultimately when you're in the clutch, you need that button and your collar needs to be charged and your remote needs to be on. Mm-hmm. And 9 times out of 10, when an owner contacts me because they had a problem out in public and they really could have used the tool, more often than not, it's a problem with them turning the darn thing on or having it in their hand or in their pocket, easily accessible. So that's why I go through in the beginning just trying to get you used to the tool, because in my experience working with a lot of people, that's the hardest freaking part, believe it or not. And then once you understand, like, okay, this is how I use it and it feels comfortable in your hand and you're comfortable understanding when you're going to apply it and at what level, that's easy.
Right.
But if you don't understand, like, this is how to put it on correctly, it's useless. And then with Maple, we dealt with a little bit of allergy on her skin. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about that. So pit bulls sometimes have sensitive skin.
She has that very sensitive skin. She doesn't like water. She doesn't like the rain. She's very, very high maintenance. It's crazy. You would think not, you think of these dogs, if you think because of their name, you put them in a certain category. But she has proven that completely the opposite. I don't know if because she's so loved and she's just that family dog. But so, we had to get like the sensitive e-collar. It doesn't even have prongs. It has just little round balls, because if she's wearing it, her neck would be all red. So, we figured out, well, let's try this. And that's what's worked for her. She can wear it all day and she has no sensitivity whatsoever. Except for you have to clean it once in a while.
Yeah, Carol brought it by today for me to clean it.
It's a hypoallergenic.
Yeah, they make different nodes for the receiver, and it helps with dogs that have sensitive skin. So
yeah,
just had to do a little trial and error with that and get it just right. But
I think with the
not at all.
With the e-collar, it's easily transferred to the next person. So say it happened and Guy was home. Mm-hmm. You can just press the button.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It can transfer from person to person. The correction is the same. It's not too heavy. It's not too light. It's just right. It happens to Carol Ann. She can use it. Your Christina. Mm-hmm. I don't think Erica walks her as much but I've seen Christina and I've seen Carol Ann.
Yeah.
And that collar can transfer over. Like if something goes wrong, they have that backup, and I feel good about that too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Christina, she she helps out a lot with her if I have to go out and do certain things. So she's great with it. How you taught me is how I taught Christina, so she knows about it. And it's funny, today Christina sent me a picture. She was out with my father and my granddaughter Gemma. And Christina had her collar on her, but her receiver wasn't on. She just went out front just to take it to the bathroom and stuff. There's a picture of my granddaughter Gemma with the receiver around her neck holding it.
Oh my goodness.
And going, Mabel, come, Mabel, come. But it wasn't even on. But she thought, like, here she was thinking she's like being a trainer at 2.
Yes.
And so, yeah, all in the family. So it's made life a lot better for me and a lot easier.
Yeah,
the training
because there's
and
a
all
big difference between Maple and Romeo as far as like their energy. You know, Romeo's a lap dog and you didn't know anything about dog training when you came to us.
Nothing.
But if I can say something about your personality, you just have this really cool willingness to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome because it makes it 10 times easier for us to instruct and tell you, okay, we're going to try doing this and, the leash handling and all that stuff. And you showed up. You showed up to group classes still sometimes. Yeah. And you did your 4-pack. You did another 4-pack for the e-collar. You send me updates like you were communicating with me. Yeah. That right there is the testimony for like the success. Like, because everybody wants to put it on the dog. But like really and I know we're like kind of drilling this home, but like, it's the owners.
Oh yeah.
You have to
do the work.
You have to, it's not just about it is about doing the work, but like having an open mind. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think is so important. And you've had that this whole time. It's easy to work with you.
Right.
I remember the first time we went out on the Flexi. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, that was really fun too.
Yeah. I have all these different leashes hanging up, different short leash, long leash, really long leash. Oh my God. Kind of, and I would say, what kind of leash do I need for this? If you told me I need to get it, I'm going to get it. Just what do I do with it?
Yeah. No, it was awesome to work with you.
Yeah. And I remember I said to Laurie in the beginning, I need to make her part of the family. If she's going to be staying, she has to be part of our family. And like I said, because of the busyness and stuff. So she did that. We've trained her to be part of the family. Mm-hmm. And that was really important. I didn't want to have people at my house and children at my house and her be locked in a room all day long. I can understand she needs to be in a crate in certain times of that. But I wanted her part of the family where she can interact with people and be obedient.
Totally.
And so we were able to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to ask Carol, Laurie?
Not really.
I feel like that was a really
I just
awesome
wanted to hear the story.
Yeah, such a great run. I mean, it's just such a great story. We help so many people, but it's so nice to work with somebody because one of the things that Laurie has always struggled with is working with family. With dog training, you're always like, I want to be careful if we work with family. It's just like, mixing.
You mean working with people I know, family?
Yeah. Like it's sometimes like when you're doing business, it's hard to work with family. Mm-hmm. But it was just so great to work with you guys and also to get to know you better because I feel like you were this mythical creature that I always heard about, but I never, like Mom and Dad would go to your house for the 4th of July and I always knew that there was this huge party, but I didn't know who the Federers were, and then I got to meet you.
Yeah, my dad and your father-in-law are very close.
Yes.
Like when I was growing up, I would be there every day with Camilo and Sistalina.
Yep.
And that's where I hung out. I hung out with all the old people.
Yeah. And your grandfather would come to my house every single day to see Guy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know
Uncle
that.
John was there all the time. He'd come up my back door, knock on the back door because I was on the first floor, and he'd come in to see Guy. They'd talk for about 10 minutes. I always say, you want coffee? He didn't want coffee. He was going home, but he was probably visiting my father-in-law, and he would come in and see Guy. Yep.
My Nano was the best. My Nano Lodato.
Yep.
My dad's dad. I miss him. Think about them every day, actually.
Yeah.
I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you all were in Somerville at the time?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Nano,
you were in Somerville too, Carol?
Yeah. And Nano was a carpenter.
Yep.
And Guy is
a contractor.
Yeah.
Builds houses. Yeah.
And Guy would tell me stories about how Nano John would tell him he was doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's off by 1/8 of an inch, the steer, and I'd be like,
yeah,
he was very precise. But that was the things that make a big difference when you're building a house.
Totally.
So he would come over and show Guy certain things and stuff, and He'd always come and see Guy all the time.
That's
That's
pretty
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Nana was wicked cool.
Yeah.
And he always smelled like he was a carpenter, and he always smelled like wood shavings. He really did, and he always wore even when he went to the rehab, he would get dressed in slacks,
Yep.
like suit pants, and a half sleeve button down shirt with
Sweater.
the what do you call it, the
Cardigans.
pocket protector.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would, and I remember I was working in the hospital at the time because my life before dog training, I was a nutritionist, and I'd be on the floors, and he was so proud to see me in a white coat. You know, I was just a nutritionist, but I was in and they said, "Oh, that Mr. Lodato, he's so great. He dresses up every morning." He had to get rehabbed for his knees and stuff, and I just happened to be taking a year off from college at the time. And I said, "That's my Nano."
Yeah.
And they said, "What?" I go, "That's my grandfather." And he got up every day, and he'd put on his suit. It was so cute.
Yeah.
And I'd visit him at nighttime, and I worked with a woman in the kitchen, Anna, and she would go up and just speak with him because she was Sicilian as well, and she would go up there and talk to him every night, and I would stop in every day in the afternoon. He was the best.
Yeah.
He was so great. Every time work gets done on the house, I wish he was here supervising the guys, because I knew that if he was there, everything would be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to this day,
He was a perfectionist like that.
he was. He's great. It's probably where my OCD comes from. And he would just sit under the tree. So, you know, stick with family. I see my grandfather. I picture him sitting under the tree in the front lawn when we got our house in Woburn. He just thought it was, you know, like so great and amazing. So, yay for family.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Long
Good stuff,
time ago.
ladies.
Yeah. Little walk down memory lane
Yeah.
with Nono John.
Yeah.
Obviously, I never met these folks, but my favorite story about him is the canteen.
Oh, Nono would bring his water from Somerville because he was convinced all the other water was bad.
Yeah.
So he would bring this red canteen, the old tin ones, and have it right at the kitchen table and pour it in. He sits at Nono's always sit at the head of the table.
Yeah.
And he'd fill it up. Yep.
So awesome.
Yeah, he's cool. Nono's cool. I miss my Nani too. She was a smart ass, and I just love that about her. And as she got older, she really started to tell the truth. So she was my favorite. I was like, this is where I got it from. Like this edge. This is Nani Agnes.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yep.
Yeah.
She'd tell you.
She'd tell you.
Yep.
That's that.
That was it. Yeah.
Good stuff, ladies. All right, Carol, thank you so much for coming, sitting in the studio, talking with us about your dog Maple and about your family, sharing with us. We love this.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Laurie, as always.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for listening to the show. And again, if you are enjoying what you hear, please like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Feel free to send me a message if you'd like at FitPet Boston on Instagram or at FPB Talks, which is the page for the podcast. So thank you again, ladies, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was fun.